Julio Foolio, Jacksonville, 2024. Julio Foolio, born Charles Andrew Jones II, came up out of Jacksonville's fractured streets. His lyrics weren't abstract stories, they were dispatches from an active war zone, naming fallen rivals and mocking enemy sets. He repped 6 Block, part of the KTA movement, and his biggest adversary was Youngeen Ace and the ATK/1200 side. Together, they defined Jacksonville's modern drill beef, where each track doubled as both music and a battlefield report. On June 23, 2024, Foolio was in Tampa celebrating his 26th birthday. He had already thrown a pool party at an Airbnb, but police shut it down after the group exceeded capacity. Foolio relocated to a Holiday Inn/Home 2 Suites parking lot with friends. That's when the shooters pulled up. According to investigators, the hit wasn't sloppy. One carried a handgun with an extended clip. Others brought rifles. More than one weapon was used to cut down the rapper as he stood outside the hotel. Foolio died at the scene. 3 others were wounded. In the weeks that followed, Tampa police and Hillsborough County authorities arrested several suspects: Isaiah Chance Jr., Alicia Andrews, Sean Gathright, and Rashad Murphy. Later, Davian Murphy was picked up after fleeing the state. Prosecutors filed first-degree murder, conspiracy, and attempted murder charges. Detectives called it retaliation tied to the long-running ATK versus KTA feud. Foolio's death wasn't just another homicide statistic. It was a high-profile hit that confirmed Jacksonville's rap beef had become one of the deadliest in America. For fans, Foolio's catalog is both legacy and evidence of that sad truth. Lil Jojo, Chicago, 2012. Joseph Coleman was just 18 when he shook Chicago's drill scene. He ran with the Gangster Disciples, and his short career was defined by open warfare against the Black Disciples, a feud that played out in both songs and on social media. His track 300K was pure provocation, calling out Lil Durk, Chief Keef, and other BD-affiliated rappers. The hook was simple but deadly. Jojo branded himself as BDK, Black Disciple Killer. In the world of Chicago drill, that wasn't a metaphor. Jojo wasn't just dissing from the booth. He tweeted locations, taunted rivals online, and posted videos where he openly dared enemies to respond. On September 4th, 2012, that response came. Jojo was riding a bike through his Englewood neighborhood when a car rolled up alongside him. Shots rang out, hitting the teen and leaving him fatally wounded on the street. Witnesses later told police they saw Jojo chased and gunned down in broad daylight. The killing stunned the city and made national headlines. Chicago police never made an arrest, and the case remains officially unsolved. But fans and bloggers quickly pointed to the escalating social media feud with the Black Disciples camp. Chief Keef infamously laughed about the murder in a now-deleted tweet, which only intensified speculation that the beef had crossed from music into murder. In hindsight, Jojo's death became a turning point. It showed how drill music wasn't just entertainment, it was documentation of active gang rivalries. By mocking enemies on camera and dropping his location, Jojo blurred the line between art and war. A decade later, his murder is still a cautionary tale of how fast internet beef can turn into bullets on the street. Tupac Shakur and the notorious B.I.G. 1996 to 1997. The East Coast-West Coast rivalry wasn't just a music beef. It was a culture war that ended with 2 of hip-hop's brightest stars dead. Tupac Shakur embodied the West Coast, repping Death Row Records under Suge Knight. Biggie Smalls, born Christopher Wallace, stood as the face of East Coast rap through Bad Boy Records and Puff Daddy's empire. The two were friends once, but by the mid-90s, their relationship was poisoned by suspicion, pride, and street politics. In 1994, Tupac was shot multiple times in a robbery at Quad Studios in New York. He survived, but he blamed associates of Biggie for setting him up. Whether or not that was true, the suspicion lit the fuse. Tupac fired back with Hit 'Em Up in 1996, one of the most venomous diss tracks ever recorded, directly targeting Biggie and Bad Boy. From that point on, the rivalry wasn't just lyrical, it was personal, with record labels, media outlets, and entire coasts egging it on. On September 7, 1996, Tupac was ambushed in Las Vegas after a Mike Tyson fight. A white Cadillac pulled up alongside his BMW, spraying bullets. He died 6 days later at only 25 years old. 6 months later, on March 9, 1997, Biggie himself was gunned down in Los Angeles. He was leaving a Vibe magazine party when a black Chevy Impala pulled up at a red light and opened fire. Neither murder has ever been solved in court, though countless theories exist, from label vendettas to gang retribution. What's undeniable is that hip-hop lost 2 icons within half a year. Their feud defined an era, and their deaths became the ultimate cautionary tale about how industry hype, personal beef, and gang politics can fuse into something no one can control. Mubu Crump, Chicago, 2018. Ronald Crump, better known as Mubu Crump, came up as part of the MUBU crew in Chicago, associated with King Louie, and known for challenging rival factions across the city. Crump had a reputation for going live and talking reckless, especially against members of OTF, the Only the Family crew linked with Lil Durk. In a scene where disrespect can be just as deadly as a gun, Crump was one of the most relentless voices. On May 25, 2018, that reputation caught up to him. Around 1 a.m., Crump was standing outside in Inglewood on Chicago's South Side when gunmen opened fire. He was hit multiple times in the torso and later died at Stroger Hospital. Police reports confirmed his age, 35, and his affiliation with the MUBU said. He wasn't a household name nationwide, but in Chicago, everyone in the drill community knew who Crump was and who he taunted. Social media quickly tied his death to the ongoing feud with OTF. In the weeks prior, Crump had uploaded lives where he mocked dead OTF members, laughed at their families, and dared rivals to retaliate. When retaliation came, it looked less like coincidence and more like the inevitable outcome of escalating disrespect. The killing drew attention not only because of Crump's antics, but because it showed how the older generation of Chicago rappers wasn't immune from the same cycle that swallowed teenagers like Lil Jojo years earlier. Crump left behind a digital trail of beef, hours of footage where he spat insults that now feel like foreshadowing. His murder was another bloody reminder that in Chicago, drill, the screen between online and real life is paper thin. BLVD quick. Baton Rouge, 2018. Ashton Wells Jr., known as BLVD Quick, was part of Baton Rouge's rising rap scene, a city already infamous for the violent saga of NBA YoungBoy and his rivals. Quick was young, charismatic, and fearless in the way he used music and live streams to speak his mind. He had ties to Boulevard Mel, and his tracks carried the raw Baton Rouge energy that turned the city into a rap capital. But Quick didn't just rap, he disrespected. In the months before his death, he allegedly clowned NBA YoungBoy's family on social media, with fan pages circulating clips of him insulting YoungBoy's mother. Whether that connection was direct cause or just rap lore, it fit the narrative when Quick turned up dead. On November 26, 2018, police responded to the Lakeside Villa Apartments in Baton Rouge. Quick had been shot multiple times and left outside an apartment building. He was only 25. Local media confirmed his identity quickly. He was a rapper, well known in the city's tight-knit scene. No suspects were publicly arrested in connection with his killing. Still, the streets immediately tied it to his disrespect online, saying Quick's mouth wrote checks his body couldn't cash. Fans mourned on social media, but Baton Rouge locals weren't surprised. This was a city where rap beef and real beef often overlapped. Quick's death underscored Baton Rouge's reputation as one of the deadliest cities for rappers. For every hit song, there seemed to be a headline about another shooting. BLVD, Quick's career ended before it really started, remembered as much for the way he disrespected his rivals as for the music he made. Indian Red Boy, Los Angeles, 2021. Zerail Dijon Rivera, known as Indian Red Boy, was one of the more shocking cases because his murder was broadcast in real time. The 21-year-old rapper was from Hawthorne, California, and affiliated with the Inglewood Bloods. His circle included Baby Capone, another rapper who had stirred controversy by defacing a Nipsey Hussle mural. That act sparked outrage, and many believe it put both Capone and Indian Red Boy directly in the crosshairs. On July 8, 2021, Rivera was sitting in his car, parked in the 14,100 block of Chadron Avenue, when gunmen approached. At the time, he was on Instagram Live, speaking with Baby Capone. The live stream captured the sound of gunshots and Rivera's final, desperate moments as he gasped for help. Los Angeles County fire officials confirmed he was pronounced dead at the scene after multiple gunshot wounds. The killing was instantly viral. Clips of the live circulated across social media, sparking outrage over how public and casual the violence had become. Police described the hit as targeted, and detectives said it had all the hallmarks of a gang retaliation. No arrests were immediately made, and speculation swirled that it was linked to the Hussle mural incident. Indian Red Boy's death crystallized the danger of clout chasing in the drill era, where once beef stayed in lyrics, now it lived on live streams, where every disrespect reached thousands instantly. For fans, the moment was chilling, watching a rapper die while the comments kept scrolling. For LA, it was another reminder that the city's gang culture, mixed with rap bravado and social media, could make a public execution feel like just another broadcast. Honeycomb Brazy, Mobile, Alabama, 2021. Honeycomb Brazy, born Nashawn Jones, rose from Mobile, Alabama, as a street rapper whose lyrics mirrored a turbulent life. Signed to Rap-A-Lot Records, his style was raw, steeped in personal stories of violence, prison time, and constant surveillance from rivals. In February 2021, tragedy struck when his grandparents were killed in a house fire after gunmen sprayed the home with bullets and set it ablaze. Police tied the murders to a long-standing feud connected to Honeycomb's own rivalries. It was one of the most horrific examples of collateral damage in Southern rap beef. That same year, Honeycomb himself was targeted on more than one occasion. One widely circulated story was a live stream where he came under fire while sitting outside a barbershop in Mobile. Fans shared clips claiming you could hear shots ring out as he ducked for cover. Local NBC affiliate NBC 15 confirmed that his mother's house and other family addresses were repeatedly shot up as well. Honeycomb survived, but his career became entangled with ongoing legal issues. He was sent back to prison for parole violations, and his music now doubles as testimony about surviving against all odds. Lil CJ Kasino, Fort Worth, Texas, 2020s. Fort Worth's Lil CJ Kasino made his name as one of the loudest voices in Texas street rap. He came up as part of the Casino World movement and carved out his space by taunting rivals on social media and showing up in their neighborhoods. His reputation was built as much on live videos as on mixtapes. At some point in the early 2020s, CJ's daring caught up to him. He went live on Instagram while in a rival neighborhood, flexing for viewers when shots rang out. In the chaos, he was reportedly shot and robbed, with clips circulating that allegedly showed him scrambling for safety. Kasino leaned into the incident afterward, turning it into part of his legend. In interviews, he laughed about how the streets were always watching and said getting shot at was just part of the game. That bravado only added fuel to his reputation as someone willing to risk it all for clout. What's important here is the gap between perception and paper trail. While fans accept the robbery shooting story as fact, police never put out formal statements confirming every detail. Still, the imagery of a rapper live streaming from enemy territory only to get gunned at fits the pattern seen across drill scenes nationwide. Lil CJ Kasino survived his scare, but the story sticks because it shows the razor's edge rappers walk when they blend music and war. Going live in the wrong place can be just as dangerous as dropping a diss track. Charles Lil Buck McCormick Jr., Jacksonville, 2020. Jacksonville's rap scene has become one of the deadliest in America, and Charles McCormick Jr., known in the streets as Lil Buck, is one of the clearest examples of how a diss track can cross a fatal line. McCormick wasn't a superstar, but he had a reputation for being bold with his words. In 2020, he recorded a diss track mocking the death of Willie Addison, the stepson of Abdul Blue Robinson Sr., a man tied to both the streets and the rap world. The track taunted Addison's murder and spread locally, rubbing salt into fresh wounds. That move set off a chain reaction. Prosecutors later told a jury that Lil Buck's track crossed the line. It wasn't just rap, it was open disrespect of a grieving family connected to dangerous men. On January 15, 2020, McCormick was gunned down in Jacksonville. He didn't survive the ambush. Years later, in 2025, Hakeem Robinson, better known as rapper Xu, stood trial for McCormick's killing. His own father, Abdul Robinson Sr., shocked the courtroom by testifying that he saw his son pull the trigger. A jury convicted Xu of first-degree murder. For prosecutors, the diss track was central to proving motive. Lil Buck's story shows the Jacksonville cycle in its rawest form. A local rapper tries to build clout by mocking a rival's dead homie, but instead of boosting his name, he ends up 6 feet under. In a city where lyrics often double as death sentences, McCormick's killing is one of the clearest examples of a diss track gone fatally wrong. Tim Dog, Bronx, 1991. Tim Dog wasn't the biggest name in rap, but with one song, he managed to shake the entire West Coast. In 1991, the Bronx rapper released F. Compton, a diss track aimed at NWA and the rising wave of Los Angeles gangsta rap. At a time when hip-hop was still mostly regional, Tim Dog's track was a bombshell. He mocked Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, and MC Ren by name, dismissing Compton as fake and soft compared to New York's grit. The song caught fire, and for a while, Tim Dog was a household name, not because of his catalog, but because of how much outrage he stirred. In LA, rappers and fans took it personally. West Coast artists fired back in songs and interviews, and the tension between East and West deepened. That's what Tupac Compton didn't cause the East Coast-West Coast war by itself, but it poured gasoline on the fire. The wider culture clash escalated through the 90s, drawing in Death Row, Bad Boy, Tupac, and Biggie. That feud eventually left both Pac and Biggie dead. While Tim Dog himself wasn't murdered, he later died of natural causes in 2013. His diss track is remembered as the opening shot in one of the darkest chapters of rap history. Tim Dog proved how one diss can shift the direction of a culture. He went from underground to infamous overnight, showing that disrespecting the wrong region at the wrong time could change hip-hop forever. Machine Gun Kelly versus Eminem, 2012 to 2018. Not every diss ends in bloodshed. Sometimes it destroys careers instead. That was the case with Machine Gun Kelly's clash with Eminem, one of the most high-profile lyrical battles of the 2000s. It started in 2012 when MGK tweeted about Eminem's then-teenage daughter Haley, calling her hot. Even though he tacked on in the most respectful way, Eminem reportedly didn't forgive it. MGK later claimed that move got him blackballed on Shade 45 and industry playlists. In 2018, M dropped Kamikaze and fired shots at MGK on the track Not Alike. MGK wasted no time responding with Rap Devil, a direct diss where he clowned M's age, his beard, and his sweatsuits. For a moment, fans actually gave MGK the edge, but then Eminem came back with Kill Shot. The track went viral, breaking YouTube records and widely being seen as a knockout blow. The fallout was brutal. MGK tried to spin the beef as a win, but the rap community largely crowned M the victor. MGK pivoted away from rap into pop punk, reinventing himself with albums like Tickets to My Downfall. For some fans, that was survival. For others, it was proof that Eminem ended MGK's rap career. Unlike Chicago Drill or Jacksonville's deadly feuds, this beef stayed lyrical, but it showed how a diss can still change lives. MGK didn't lose his life. He lost his lane in hip-hop. In rap, sometimes that's almost as bad.